This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence. Hello everyone and welcome to another reading vlog. So in today's video we are going to be reading The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I was actually between reading two books, this one or reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I have this beautiful Penguin Classics cloth bound edition that I love so much. It has all the little jellyfish on it, it's so pretty, but I was in between reading these two books, so I actually went out onto Patreon and asked everyone which book they'd rather see me read more, and everyone on Patreon said, well, not everyone, but most people said they wanted to see The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I've heard very, very good things about this book. It's a reasonably chunky book. It's over 500 pages. I don't even have the blurb to refer to for this book because I picked it up for free when Dimmicks was moving stores. They had this whole pile of slightly damaged books and you could pick certain books up for free. So I picked this book up, did not have to pay for it, although it is missing a back cover. I did know the premise of this book, but now I've forgotten and I can't even refer to the blurb. It is a fantasy novel based on late medieval Venice on an unnamed world. Elite con artists calling themselves the Gentlemen Bastards rob the rich of the city of Camor. Okay, so that is the premise of the book. We do not have the back of this. We're fine, everything is fine. I have been excited to read this book for a long time and I've heard really good things about it, so I cannot wait to get reading. It is currently Friday afternoon. It's the end of quite a long week, but a very productive week. I don't know. I feel like the last few weeks my productivity has just been going up and up and up and I feel really good about work stuff. But now that we're at the end of this very long week, it's been an ordeal. Like, just for example, yesterday I was out filming somewhere and I just had the absolute worst luck. I was like really far away from home and I was in the middle of filming something and like producing something and I had all my nice camera equipment with me, and then out of nowhere it just started pouring with rain and there was all of this hail. Like, it started hailing, so like teeny tiny pellets of ice, and I'm like in the middle of somewhere where there's no shelter and I was like trying to pack away my camera into my backpack and I was like running like to try and like find cover and not damage my camera, being pelted by these tiny bullets of ice, and it was this whole thing. But now I get to wind down and read a book and do what I love. The work week is over and I'm very excited to start reading this book. So a bit of a reading update here for you guys. I am a small chunk of the way through this book so far. I'm reading it reasonably slowly, like there's a lot of words per page here. I get comments every now and then from people saying that they don't know why I use how many words are in a book and not the pages. Because of typesetting, because of font sizes, because of so many factors when you're actually publishing a book, the pages are so inconsistent in terms of how long it actually takes to read a book, which is why I always say this book is X number of words rather than referring to the pages. Now let's see. Okay, 184,000 words. So that is a significant chunky book. So that makes sense as to why I feel like I'm reading each page really slowly. It's because I am, because there's so many words on each page. I am enjoying it so far. I think the world building feels really in depth in this particular book. I think I always struggle a little bit more to get into books that are written in this kind of style. It's a style that's used a lot in fantasy, but it's one that really sort of privileges like world building and plot and things like that, and doesn't often go as in-depthly into character. So far we haven't seen a lot of the internal worlds of the characters. You know, we see this thing happen to a character, this thing happen to a character, we see this dialogue happen, but we don't get a lot of insight into how characters feel about things, you know. Generally when you're looking at focalizers and how they're perceiving the world, there's a lot of different language that implies how a character feels about things. You can use figurative language to imply viewpoints that the characters have, and all of that stuff sort of tacitly builds up character. But here so far, it hasn't really gone very in-depth on character. It's not to say I won't enjoy the book, it's just that often books that are written in this style take me a little bit of time to get into. I also feel like there's a little bit of a learning curve with this book. Like, you jump straight into this quite long passage of not info dumping, but just like trying to explain the world, and there's a lot of like very specific things like the way that years work in this world and lots of different names of things that like you don't really understand until you read a bit further, and so the learning curve is a little bit higher for this book. But yeah, I'm really intrigued so far. The world seems really cool here. I like the characters so far. It seems really interesting. It seems like kind of a dark world and a particularly unfriendly world for these orphans to exist in. So yes, I'm very intrigued. I'm like this far into the book and I'm excited to keep reading. However, right now we are about to head out and go grab some dinner. I have been wanting to have laksa all week, so I'm very excited because we're going to be going and getting laksa. Hello, VoiceOver Christy popping in here to thank the lovely sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is a website builder which allows people to create interesting, dynamic, and beautiful websites with ease. My website was made through Squarespace, as I'm sure many of you know by now. I really love the platform. It's so easy to use and it's super quick to make everything look exactly how you want it. Squarespace is affordable and it has loads of benefits, including powerful analytics tools, a library full of great templates, and wonderful e-commerce features. And if you're looking to make a website, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/ChristyAnnJones to save 10% off your purchase of a website or domain. Happy Saturday afternoon. We just got home from the comic book store, actually. I don't know if it was their annual comic book day, but we managed to pick up some free comics, so that was pretty good. I bring you comic books and also my water bottle, apparently. A really big leaf just flew past the window. Okay, sorry, it's a little bit random. I went to the comic book store because they were having their like free comic book day and we were like, free comic books, did you say? We managed to grab some. Tyler grabbed a small stack as well. You were allowed to grab 3, and so that's what we did. So I got this comic book called The Guardian of Fukushima, this one called Jonah and the Unstoppable Monsters, and then this comic book on Avatar. I don't even think I looked in this one before grabbing it. I was just like, okay, this is Avatar, I'm gonna get this one. So they also had a really good sale going for graphic novels. So I managed to pick up this one. It's called Wrinkles. Primarily, I got it because I thought the art style was really beautiful. I think the line work is quite pretty. It's very simple and the colors are simple, and I don't know, I just liked the art style of this, and I looked it up and it's about a man who has Alzheimer's, and I was talking to the person at the comic book store and they said that this was really good and that this graphic novelist had done a lot of really interesting stuff, and so I grabbed this one. It was only $10. I think if you buy it from Amazon it's like $40. Now, an update on how reading is going. Where is my copy of the book? I've read a little bit. I don't know, it's because this book is so chunky, it's quite deceptive. Because it's like, I've read, I think like 90-ish pages by this point, which feels like a lot. Like I feel like it took me a really long time to get to page 90. But honestly, I think with this particular type of story, it's gonna take me a while to get into. I also actually need to read, or at least get started on the Atlas 6 this weekend, which is the book we're reading. Sorry, frame the camera properly. The book we're reading for our book club over on Patreon this this month for the month of May. So I need to actually make a start on this and read a chunk so I can keep up with everyone in our book club. So I'm gonna do that. I'm starting to think that I'm probably not gonna finish this book this weekend just because of how long it takes me. Like, I feel that this is the type of story that's gonna take me a while. Priory of the Orange Tree took me like a month. I know The Name of the Wind, which has a similar vibe to this for me. I feel like a lot of people would disagree with that. The Name of the Wind was a little bit more flowery in the writing, I think, but that story had a similar vibe, and I think that took me like a month to read. I'm not even remembering properly. It took me a while. I think it took me a while. I think Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell took me like a week or something ridiculously small for the size of that novel. Maybe it was like 2 weeks. I can't remember. Regardless, I think this is going to take a while to read, and I also would like to make a start on the Atlas 6 as well. The premise of this particular story is that we have a secret society. We have these 6 magicians who have to go and work for the secret society, and the conflict there is that only 5 people from the secret society get to stay working there. The vibe I'm getting from this one is that one of the 6 people is going to end up dying. This draws from the history of the Library of Alexandria, which is a very, very cool piece of history, which I like. So I'm excited to read this. I'm hoping it has the cool dark academia vibes. Let's go sit down and do some reading. Gonna very, very quickly do my hair and then we can jump over to reading. So in terms of an update, I've read a little bit more of The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, which I can't show you because the book is currently holding up this light, which is the only reason we have a light here enough to do this. Okay, so I've read a little bit more of The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I've read about 50 pages of the Atlas 6. They both have very, very different reading styles. They both have very, very different voices and narrative styles. And I'm thinking that my instincts were right about The Lies of Locke Lamora taking a long time for me to read, because it is just a style of writing that takes me a lot longer to get into. Again, that's not to say I'm not enjoying it, it's just my frazzled brain is struggling to feel engaged with things. The Atlas 6, however, feels a lot easier to read. The Atlas 6 is a lot smaller. I think that book's only like 80,000 words, so they look a similar size in terms of like thickness, but the actual size of both books is very, very different. The Atlas 6 is way shorter. My hair is kind of on the finer side, but there's quite a bit of it, which is what hairdressers tend to tell me. So if I curl it, it ends up being quite a bit more of a bouncy, wide shape. It makes my hair look a lot thicker than I think it actually is. But if I don't curl it, then my hair sort of ends up being this sort of like long bob that like curls in. This is very, very dodgily done. My makeup is dodgily done, but it's now glittery, so that's nice. We're gonna be heading out soon to go to a social commitment, but I wanted to fit in some reading before we headed off. It's really important for me to actually get ready for the thing well in advance, because if I start reading and then get ready later, it'll be like the time we're supposed to go and I'll still be reading and we'll have not like done anything to get ready. I need to go grab my glasses because I forgot to do that. I am now about to get back to reading The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I'm not gonna lie, it's taking me a while to get into this book. I think it's really convincing and strong. I feel immersed in the world. I feel like it's a very believable, well-researched, world-built world. I'm really enjoying it. It's just the style and the voice of this particular kind of story, for some reason, can take me a really long time to get into. Especially when I'm in this sort of headspace of kind of struggling to get engaged with books. I kind of feel like I want things to read at the moment which feel very easy. This book right now, because it's not, it's not gripping me yet, doesn't feel like an easy read, but it could honestly like change entirely by the time I get to like the halfway mark or something like that. I've read a little bit more of the Atlas 6. I am enjoying the Atlas 6 as well. The writing style is very, very different. So this writing style is quite not flowery at all. I think it's very concrete and realistic, even though it's a speculative story. There's not a lot of describing words, there's not a lot of figurative language and imagery and stuff. There's not a very big focus on character yet that I can see still, but there is a very big focus on world building and on, you know, the plot of the story and that type of stuff. The Atlas 6, however, the writing style feels much more contemporary. It feels really fast paced, it feels like it has a much bigger focus on character, but it doesn't, I'm like 80 pages into this book. I'm sort of like flying through it really quickly, and the world doesn't seem super in-depthly built, so that's making me sad. I wish I was flying through this book at the same rate at which I was flying through this book. What I want is something in the middle of the two, honestly. Like, I want a book that feels easy to read, but has this like beautiful imagery, wonderful world building. That's just kind of like the book I want to read right now. And these two books, The Lies of Locke Lamora and The Atlas 6, sort of each sit on the other side of the spectrum. One is quite character focused and doesn't have a lot in terms of the world building, and the other is very world building focused but doesn't have a lot in terms of character, and what I want is the perfect marriage of both of those things. Honestly, I feel like I'm flying through this book, but I feel like this is gonna be the better book of the two. Anyway, I'm gonna get to reading this now. It has been a few weeks since I last checked in with you guys on this particular vlog, and the reason why that is because I kept putting The Lies of Locke Lamora off in terms of reading it. I kept saying, no, I'm gonna go back to that vlog once I've read a little bit more of the book, once I can tell you guys a genuine opinion, once I can give it, you know, the justice it deserves. But the truth of the matter is that I have not read any more of this book at this point. I think I stopped at about, my bookmark actually fell out of it, which is kind of devastating, a significant way into the book regardless. And I am certain that at some point I'm gonna come back to this book, I'm gonna pick it back up again, but it's just not what I feel like reading right now. Since putting this book down, I've finished reading The Atlas 6, I've finished rereading Coraline, I read another book. I think I've read 3 or 4 books since struggling a little bit with this one. And the thing is that, as I've mentioned heaps and heaps in this vlog, I'm not really connecting with the voice of this story, with the narrative style, as much as I'd want to connect with it. And I had the exact same thing with this beautiful, enormous book, which is The Priory of the Orange Tree. I got given this book for my birthday, and it took me like a year after I initially picked it up to eventually read it, and I love this book. I think it's so brilliantly done, but it took me a little while to get in, and it's quite intimidating because it's quite large. And so this book, I feel like I shouldn't force it. I feel like I should just wait until I feel ready to read this type of story, because clearly my brain is not concentrating right now on this book. And I'm a really big advocate for, if you're not enjoying a book, if you don't feel engaged with it, just DNF it. You don't have to keep reading. If you try and force yourself to read a book you're not super engaged with, it's just going to slow down your reading in general. Which means that even though I'm certain I'll get back to this book, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like this book, I'm excited to eventually read it, this kind of technically makes this my first DNF of the year. And I don't want that to upset people, because I know that this book is really well loved, and I'm not putting it down because it's bad. I'm not putting it down because I'm not enjoying it. I'm putting it down because I think I'll enjoy it more at a later date, which isn't at the moment. I did actually end up finishing The Atlas 6, I think a couple days after I last checked in with you guys. I read this book really quickly. It was very easy to read. Now that it's no longer the month of May, we read this book for our book club last month on Patreon. So I put up like a 20-minute discussion video of me dissecting this book and picking apart all of the many things I wanted to talk about, all my many thoughts and feelings with this book. So if you're interested, that video is up on Patreon. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I'm sorry it took so long for me to edit it. I just really did want to read more of the Lies of Locke Lamora. Thank you very, very much for watching, and also an enormous thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my channel and for making these videos possible. Over on Patreon we have a whole bunch of lovely bonus content, bonus videos, our book club, we have a private Discord server, all of this stuff. So if you're interested in checking out Patreon, there is a link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.